It's the second of two final road trips for the Rockies in 2014, and they've made their way to the great baseball town of St. Louis, Missouri. And this evening inside Busch Stadium, the Rockies will open up a three-game set against the NL Central leading St. Louis Cardinals. Welcome upstairs, everybody. Glad as always that you're along with us with my partner and the Missouri native, George Frazier. I'm Drew Goodman. Well, the Cardinals are in a familiar spot. They're atop the division right now. They're playing good baseball in the month of September. Last year, they were National League champions. It seems every year at this time of year, no matter what happens in the summer, they find their way to the top, don't they?
They do. And when you talk to John Mozeliak and you listen to what he has to tell you about their ball club, he said, we just don't panic. We try to play good baseball. March and April wasn't good. 5.5 back. People are second-guessing moves they made in the offseason. All of a sudden, May played a little bit better. June got a little bit worse as other teams got hot. But he said you don't panic. You just play baseball. And I think that's what these guys are very good at, is throw the baseball, catch the baseball. They got an all-star closer, got an all-star starter in tonight's ball game. And now all of a sudden they're 2.5 up on a surging Pirate ball club that is playing very good baseball. It was Milwaukee at the end of August and 1st of September. Now it's the Pirates chasing the Cardinals.
They're used to being in this spot. It's that simple. And a guy who's used to winning big ball games is on the hill tonight for St. Louis, Adam Wainwright. It's a battle of the two aces. Jorge De La Rosa looking for his 14th victory for the Rockies. This is a good pitching matchup.
It's a very good pitching matchup. And you look at Adam Wainwright, 5th most wins since '09, and he missed a year. He has 89 wins. And Verlander with 104 leads it. So if he had his normal year, he's probably got the most wins. That's how dominant he can be. His velocity is not mid-90s anymore, but location is. And relying on Molina is probably the biggest thing that he does well.
But he has been terrific. He hit a little bit of a rough spot, and then he threw shutout baseball in his last outing against Milwaukee. For Jorge De La Rosa, he's had another fine year. Quite frankly, he's been better at home than he's been on the road.
Well, a lot better. There's no question. I mean, he's 9-2 at home. On the road, he struggled. The earned run average a little bit higher. You look at his career numbers. He's won 30 games out on the road, lost 41 ball games on the road. But again, I think a lot of guys have so much more success at home. Now, out on the road, he has had big games, pitching very well, where he's had to leave some games where, because of a pinch hitter, a tie score, a 2-1 ball game, and the bullpen didn't hold their place for the ball game. So I think his record on the road would be better. I think his numbers would be better on the road. But again, for me, it's a little unusual in this time of year in September to have two aces matched up on the same night, and you have that here.
Yeah, and absolutely. In his career, he's thrown the baseball well against St. Louis. He beat the Cardinals, in fact, earlier this year at 20th and Blake. When we come back, we'll talk about the two leadoff hitters in this game, Charlie Blackmon and Matt Carpenter. That'll be next when we come back to St. Louis.
And the Rockies and Cardinals about to start up a 3-game set here at Busch Stadium. I want to talk about the leadoff hitters involved in this game. Charlie Blackmon for the Rockies, the visitors, and Matt Carpenter, of course, for the Cardinals. Carpenter last year led the league in hits with 199. And Blackmon this year has really come alive as a leadoff hitter. You look at their numbers, they are comparable. More power and RBIs for Charlie Blackmon. I asked Eric Young Sr., what being a leadoff hitter is all about in the big leagues.
Give your team a chance to see as many pitches as possible in that first at-bat. Then by the time you come around in that third at-bat, you have an idea of what he's doing, how his pitch is working, what he likes to throw that particular day for his strikeout pitch. It gives you a little bit more information, and I think guys in the lineup appreciate that more, especially your big sluggers, knowing that this guy has this curveball working, this slider working that particular day, or his split. So they'll be able to look at that or lay off that pitch later on in the game.
That's good advice, especially with Wainwright and De La Rosa, the starting pitchers tonight. EY, by the way, with 74 RBIs in 1996. That is the Rockies franchise record for a leadoff hitter. Charlie Blackmon, 9 behind him. Blackmon last year made his season debut in St. Louis on Mother's Day on May the 12th. He was called up because Michael Kadire went on the DL, and he had a home run and knocked in a couple of runs. Hopefully that'll happen again here tonight. It's Fan Friday, getting ready. Tweet us at @RootSports_RM. Use the hashtag Toyota Talk. Let's go back to Jenny in the studio in Denver.
Rockies baseball on Root Sports is brought to you by your neighborhood Toyota stores. Toyota, let's go places. By Inova Cancer Care, taking a novel approach to cancer care. Learn more about prostate cancer treatment at InovaCC.com. And by Southwest Airlines, without a heart, it's just a machine. See a red inside Busch Stadium, as it typically is for Cardinal baseball. Final homestand of the year for the Cardinals, who've lost 3 consecutive ball games, all in Cincinnati, after a stretch where they won 9 of 10 to take over the division lead from the Milwaukee Brewers, who have fallen on hard times. So the Brewers have won their last couple of ball games. Charlie Blackmon's going to lead things off, as he typically does for the Rockies. And here's the rest of the Southwest batting order for Walt Weiss. Again, without a heart, it's just a machine. Michael Kadire, Justin Morneau, Nolan Arenado, the first 4. Morneau leading the National League in hitting. He's hitting .533 over his last 4. Dickerson, Rosario behind the plate. Rafael Inoa will hit 7th and play short. DJ LeMahieu and Jorge De La Rosa. The Rockies have been shut out 19 consecutive innings. And for the 10th time in franchise history, they have been shut out in consecutive ball games. That obviously came in New York. In fact, they only scored 2 runs in the New York series. Home runs by Arenado and Kadire. Here's Adam Wainwright, and for more on his numbers, George will tell you about it. Non-surgical treatment of prostate cancer. Visit InovaCC.com. 200
innings again. This is what he does, seems to do every single year. But there's other numbers that jump out at you that make him what he is. 3 holes, have hit 187 against him. Third guys in the lineup, normally your RBIs. 2 outs with runners in scoring position. The opposition, just 159. In other words, takes care of business in big jams and keeps his club, obviously, in a lot of baseball games.
First pitch from Wainwright is in there for a strike.
He is a strike thrower. Now, after the break, he's obviously struggled. The numbers 5 and 5, 429. I think it coincides with not having Molina on a daily basis behind the plate when he's pitching.
Yeah, some of that has to be part of the equation. This ball's down the right field line. It's a fair ball, should be a double, and the throw coming in is not going to get Charlie Blackmon. So a great start for the Rockies, bereft of offense throughout that series in New York, and they have a leadoff double against Adam Wainwright to begin things.
After a fastball early, tries to come back with another one. Charlie gets on top of it and just shoots it by Scruggs at first base position down into the right field corner. And there's so many little different areas that this ball can ricochet off of. This is the one shot into second, and Charlie beats it.
So Michael Kadire, who had Wednesday off, giving him 48 hours. It had nothing to do with that diving catch he made. He came out of that fine. We chatted with him about it. No ill effect on the shoulder, but he was just getting his legs back under him after coming off the DL. And Walt Weiss felt it would be best to take advantage of the off day and give him 2 full days of rest.
Well, that makes a lot of sense coming off the DL, like you said. This is where hitting in the 2-hole, you have a professional hitter. That if he gets a pitch, he'll drive it, run in. If he doesn't, he's able to move the guy to the right side, advance Charlie, and get some runs in. I think, that's the biggest thing about Michael Kadire hitting in the 2-hole.
Professional hitter. There's Charlie at second base. Not about Yadier being back behind the plate. He missed 40 games with the ligament tear in his left thumb. He's still wearing a brace on that. He had surgery on it. The preeminent receiver in baseball, great 2-way player. He keeps this up much longer, George. He's destined for Cooperstown. He's been that good.
No, I would agree with you. I don't think, when you think of catchers and if they do the time period, because guys don't play 20 years anymore, particularly in the catching position. But the time frame he's played, there's none better.
And that's right there at the knees at 94. And Kadire is gone, 1 out. Let's take a look at the I'm sorry, George, real quick. Let's take a look at the Cardinal defense, brought to you by Excel Energy. Visit ResponsibleByNature.com today to learn more. Holidays in left. Peter Borgers can really run at center. They like Randall Grichuk a lot in right field. More on him when he comes up. Johnny Peralta, Mark Ellis, the former Rocky up the middle, Matt Carpenter, Xavier Scruggs getting the start for Matt Adams at first, and the aforementioned Yadier Molina's behind the plate. Here's Justin Morneau leading the league in hitting. Yesterday, Josh Harrison went 0 for 5, and it's a little comeback. Right now, they're 2 outs. This is what the good ones do. They get the big outs when there's traffic.
159 with 2 outs and runners in scoring position. And getting the 3-hole is hit below 200 against Wainwright this year.
During that period, George, you were talking about where Wainwright had above a 5 ERA, 3 and 4 ERA for 7 ball games. They felt like, and these are his words, that he had like a dead arm.
I can understand that. I really can. I mean, guys that go through that period, you know, because I watched a couple of starts, and when I saw the velocity while home in Tulsa, their games are broadcast back in Oklahoma, and I saw a lot of 88 to 90s. We've already seen 94 tonight. So I didn't see that explosive fastball that I'd seen in the past. I still saw the control, but I didn't see the explosive fastball getting ahead of hitters like he had in the past.
Arenado at 291. He's driven in 60 with 18 home runs. He hit his second road home run of the year in that New York series to give the Rockies a short-lived 2-1 lead in the 8th inning on Monday night. The Mets would rally against Detroit for 2 in the victory in the bottom of the 9th. Here's the 1-0, and the slider just off the plate. Calling balls and strikes tonight is Scott Barry. Mark Carlson is at first, Jeff Nelson at second, the crew chief, and Pat Hoberg is at third. Brisk autumn St. Louis evening as we edge toward the middle portion of the month of September.
Feels great. I mean, for me, coming into this as a player, I think you really like this type of weather. For a pitcher, you may try to wear the end of the bat and underneath the label. Hitters don't like to hit in cool temperatures. The low in St. Louis, I know it's very chilly back in Denver right now, but 57 degrees here at game time. As you get later into the night, they're saying a low of 46, 48 degrees.
Nolan drives it to deep left field. Holiday going near the line is going to get over and make the catch. And that ends the threat. So Blackmon, a leadoff double. The Rockies never advanced it. And it's now 20 consecutive innings of shutout baseball for the Rockies offense. We're talking about the Rockies having been shut out 20 straight innings. The Cardinals have hit a rough patch offensively. In fact, they've been challenged most of this year. They've gone 17 straight innings without scoring, all in Cincinnati. Matt Carpenter is going to lead it off. We chatted about him during the pregame show. 274 average, and the rest of the Southwest batting order for Mike Matheny looks like this. Grandel Grichuk will bat second. And then it'll be Matt Holliday, Johnny Peralta leading the club with 20 home runs, Yadier Molina, Xavier Scruggs, Peter Borges, Mark Ellis, and Adam Wainwright. And Holliday has done significant damage in 34 ball games against his former employers.
And 449 against De La Rosa.
Well, more numbers on Jorge. He's making his 30th start of the year, looking for victory number 14. And here's Inova numbers presented by Inova Cancer Care. Non-surgical treatment of prostate cancer. Visit InovaCC.com.
13-10 overall record, 166 and a third. Health obviously has been there. 29 starts on the year, making his 30th here in St. Louis. Left-handers this year have not been able to do much with it. 192 average. That's why they're so overloaded, other than Carpenter, with right-handers in their lineup tonight. How about the Rockies starter, Drew? In the last 7 ball games, that starting staff, 45 innings, 35 hits. They've given up 1 home run and have an earned run average of 2, and the opposition's hit 211.
Yeah,
they pitched very well.
The starting pitching's been very good. They've had quality starts, 6 out of 7. That pitch is in there for a strike. Problem has been the offense.
Yeah, they ran into Mr. Cueto yesterday with this offense.
Well, they got a great performance from Lance Lynn yesterday. They lost 1-0. Lynn pitched a complete game. Cueto will do that to you. You know, if not for Clayton Kershaw, it would be Johnny Cueto's Cy Young Award. Both have 18 victories. Cueto's 18-8, Kershaw's 18-3, and that's not to disrespect the work of Adam Wainwright, who's 17-9, and Madison Bumgarner, who's 17-9. But Johnny Cueto's been the second best pitcher in the National League this year. He has had an extraordinary year.
On a ball club that's 7 games under 500, which they were counting on until they had the loss of Votto and Bruce together at 10, but they're 10 back now in the National League Central.
And Lance Lynn,
very good yesterday. 8 innings pitched, a run given up.
Yeah, it's hard to take a loss when you give up only 1. Matt Carpenter fouls that pitch off. Carpenter out of Galveston, Texas. Last year, he really arrived on the scene officially with a .318 average in 157 games. Led the big leagues with 199 hits last year. 2-2, and it's a changeup in the dirt. It's 3-2. He also had 55 doubles to lead the big leagues.
In a ballpark that gives up a lot of doubles because of the gaps. This ballpark, even in the old ballpark, where it was more AstroTurf, you still had guys with a lot of doubles. Home run hitters were not that common in St. Louis.
Outside, Carpenter, who has the 8th best on-base percentage in the league, draws a leadoff walk. When De La Rosa pitched against the Cardinals earlier this year, he did not walk anybody, though he gave up some hits and some runs. One of the reasons he got the victory is he didn't walk anybody. Let's take a look at the Rockies defense, brought to you by Excel Energy. Visit ResponsibleByNature.com today to learn more. It's a familiar group for the most part. Dickerson, Blackman, Kadire. Rafael Inoa is getting to start at shortstop. And Willeen Rosario's behind the plate. He's been alternating a little bit since his return from the DL with Mike McHenry. So here's Randall Grichuk. Here's Rafael. And he has a short, compact swing. He's powerfully built. He came with Borges in the offseason in the deal with the Angels. Salas went over there, and David Freese went over to the Angels. This kid's a former #1 pick. He's hit a lot of home runs in the minor leagues.
Still trying to tread his water here at the big league level.
That's off the Arenado, and everybody's safe.
Another look at this ball. 1 hop line drive hit right at Arenado. A base hit rewarded as I think it should have been.
So an early issue for Jorge, 2 on, and Matt Holliday at the plate. Matt, by his standards, has not had a big year. The numbers good for most, not Holliday-like. The 81 ribbies do lead the Cardinals, but he has come on of late, and so has St. Louis, aside from the 3-game losing streak. Again, they'd won 9 of their previous 10 to overtake the Brewers and the Pirates. That's inside on Holliday.
Matt is one of the best cripple hitters in the game. You get ahead of him and then you try to throw the slider, he'll look silly on it. He's ahead, he's behind in the count. You try to come back with that similar slider, he drives it into right center.
And it's 2-0.
Probably a little more discipline is why you've seen the sudden surge in his ability to lay off the high pitches. A lot of guys, a lot of different teams were trying to throw him in and above the hands to get ahead in counts and then go soft away. Jorge's come in twice. He's behind 2-0.
Here's the 2-0, and it swung on and missed. De La Rosa would love to get a ground ball here. Matt will ground into some double plays. $19 of them. That one, not a ground ball. That goes into the third deck in left field, and Holliday has quickly given the Cardinals a 3-0 lead, and their 17-inning drought is all over. 17th home run for Holliday, and he continues to torture the Rockies.
No home runs against De La Rosa, but he had hit .429. He has been on that kind of streak of late, carrying this club on his back, and he does it here early in this ball game. 3 hitters in. 2-1 count. De La Rosa throws the cutter in. It almost appeared Holliday, who cleared that front side real early to get the bat through the zone. Send that into the Big Mac land. And you remember that was designated 4 years ago. That was McGuire's place where he had a lot of home runs.
3 hitters in, it's 3-0, and this ball in the air to deep center field off the bat of Peralta, and it's going to die short of the wall. Blackman makes the catch, 1 out. He identified this early, didn't he?
Yeah, well, that's what I mean. When you see him clear out that quick and get the front side out, it's almost he anticipated that the cutter was coming in. And whatever pitch it was, and he's such a good hitter average-wise and hands, and he's so strong that he just took advantage of that inside part of the plate.
Here's Yadier Molina. Yadier's yet to catch fire since missing a month and a half on the DL. But against De La Rosa, he too has good numbers. 5 for 11 with a home run. One ball, 1 strike. And Molina chops it foul toward Jose Kendo, who still has good hands. 467 feet on that home run by Holiday. The Ford Strike Zone is powered by Ford cars. Big MPG, smart technology, and unsurpassed quality. See what happens when fun meets the road. Ford, go further. Change up, split change up in the dirt, 2-2. 467 feet. That's the second longest home run at the new Busch Stadium. The longest was only 2 feet farther. Guess who hit it, Frage?
Matt Holliday.
Matt Holliday in 2012 against the Cubs. Wow.
Well, you normally think on a cool night that the ball's not going to carry that far, but obviously it is.
If you line them all up and it's a league of strong men, he may be the strongest.
Well, I think I would agree with you, Drew. I mean, he's one of those guys that, you know, he is so strong that even on his misses, he drives the ball. And you'll see him throw the bat down, and he missed the ball badly, and then you'll see it caught at the wall in right field.
Matt's one of a handful of guys we've seen it when he was with the Rockies, hit a home run and break the bat.
You don't see that often. Guys like Jim Rice did it when I was playing, Bo Jackson. Those are the type of players and strength that did it, were able to do things like that. Really strong men. This is what Molina will do. He'll drive you crazy because you'll fool him on a pitch really bad, and he gets so far out front that he just taps it foul. He just flips it into the till you finally come with one. And you see those career numbers against Jorge, big numbers, a home run and 455 average. Drew mentioned the 5 for 11 a minute ago.
And he got him. Another changeup. Good pitch by De La Rosa. And he strikes out Molina for the second out.
Pretty good pitch here because he got well out front on this pitch. So you had the late swing and dive. That's a very good pitch from De La Rosa to get the strikeout of Molina. This young man coming to the plate now, Xavier Scruggs. I had an opportunity for a couple of years at the Texas League to watch him playing in Springfield. Finally getting an opportunity here. He has struggled with the bat, but it's a guy that's got some power. He hits a lot of doubles, can hit the ball out of the ballpark. And you have a guy like Albert Pujols in front of you, Matt Adams in front of you. You're going to play in AAA and put your numbers up there. And he got rewarded here at the end of the year with an opportunity at the big league level.
Yeah, he's hit some home runs, George, in the minor leagues. He's a college sign. He's out of Poway, California, just outside of San Diego. He went to UNLV. He was a huge star there. Second pitch he ever saw in college baseball, he hit out against Pepperdine. And in his junior year, he won the Mountain West Conference Triple Crown. Led the league in hitting, home runs, and RBIs, and was an All-American.
The one pitch that gave him difficulty when I watched him at the minor league level for 2 years was the breaking ball. Any kind of breaking ball, off-speed pitches. Very good fastball hitter.
UNLV's turned out some good players through the years.
Really good players.
Matt Williams probably at the top of the list.
Hitter-friendly type parks, no, there's no question, but still you got to hit the baseball to get it out of any park.
And that's pulled foul, a slider. 1-2 on Scruggs. Down low. You know who else went to UNLV? Prince's dad played against Cecil Fielder.
Did he?
Ryan Ludwig, former Cardinal.
Yeah, big time power there. Cincinnati right now.
2-2, and Scruggs stayed off it. It's another deep count.
Just like Tavares, another young player that came up in a Cardinal organization, when you get that first opportunity, you can be real aggressive. After a 1-for-8 start for Scruggs, it's showing a little patience right now, not chasing pitches out of that zone on 2 of them from De La Rosa.
And De La goes to the changeup, and he gets the strikeout. But a rough start for De La Rosa. Walk, single, and a Matt Holliday monster shot. It's 3-0 Cardinals.
In the bottom of the first, and the Cardinals up 3 as we go top 2 on a Fan Friday here at Root Sports. All you have to do is tweet us at @RootSports_RM. Use the hashtag Toyota Talk. We'll get some questions on the air about the Rockies, about the Cardinals, about baseball, pennant races, whatever you can think of. So hit us up again at @RootSports_RM. Hashtag is Toyota Talk Fan Friday. This is one of 3 that are left. So let's start tweeting away. Let's go back to Drew and George.
Mark, you got new glasses.
I've had these all year, George, and it's a cosmetic thing, so I figured I'd break them out.
Well, you look good.
Well, thank you, George. Appreciate that.
Ty looks good, too.
He's come off the DL, just throwing compliments left and right, Mark.
Was I on the DL?
You were gone. If you're gone, you're on the DL.
I was gone 4 days. I'm on the DL. Do they have a 4-day DL?
They do in broadcasting, and you were on it.
All right.
Corey Dickerson leading off. The Rockies trying some way to break the ice. 20 straight innings without scoring. And they had a leadoff double to begin the game from Blackman. Kadire struck out looking. Morneau, a little comebacker, and Arenado hit the ball decently, but Matt Holliday made the catch and left.
Well, the one thing, not only when you have a guy like Wainwright on the mound, but this Cardinal ball club, because of their bullpen and the ability of starters to work deeper in games, it's difficult when you're 61-22 when they score first.
Dickerson just one hit in that Mets series, George. It's a 1-2 count with Wainwright. So the Rockies have not scored since Arenado hit the home run on Monday night in the 8th inning. But it's even more troubling than that offensively on the road. Here's a leadoff single for Corey. The Rockies have got 9 straight road games scoring 2 runs or less. It's currently going. And I look back and I started saying, all right, well, when's the last time they had a good solid offensive output, more than 5? The last time they scored more than 5 in a road game was July 30th at Wrigley when they won 6-4, but it took 10 innings.
It took 10 innings, you're right, to get those extra runs late in the ball game. What jumps out at me on this graphic, look at the years you're comparing to. 07, 16, 27, 43. 1963 was the last time this happened.
Yeah, when the mound was higher and there weren't a lot of runs scored. Rosario flies out to right. There's one out with Dickerson remaining obviously at first base. And even more, so the last time they had a big night on the road, you have to go back to June the 29th at Miller Park in Milwaukee, when the Rockies had De La Rosa on the hill and they got after Giovanni Gallardo and ended up winning that ball game 10-4.
And you talk to Wald, it's bigger swings. You know, they feel like the home ballpark because the ball doesn't do certain things in the eyes as it's been printed and talked about. They have bigger swings to hit the ball out of the ballpark, to hit it into the gaps, and then those big swings don't work on the road.
Here's Rafael Inoa, a young switch hitter, young to the big leagues.
He's made a very good impression on this ball club. 351. He has an RBI, has played third, short. He can play second.
Well, to your point, George, he's played 3 games. He's gotten at least 1 hit in all 3 games, including 3 hits in his big league debut.
Right, and drove in a run.
Wainwright misses up high. And a ground ball off the glove of the third baseman Carpenter, no play. So Inoa's now hit in the 4 games he has played, and the Rockies have runners at first and second with 1 out for DJ LeMahieu.
With him playing in on the grass, because you have to honor the speed of Inoa, you didn't want to give up that base hit, but the ball was hit hard enough, it ricocheted off the glove. In normal depth, he's probably going to have the ability to turn the double play, take advantage of the defense.
Further evidence, George, in this ball game, once for Carpenter, once for Arenado, as to why third base is called the hot corner.
Absolutely.
Little chance for Carpenter there. And last inning, Arenado, a wicked shot from Randall Grichuk that went for a base hit also. Well, DJ's been swinging the bat. See if he can come through here. And that's line to second, throw to first, safe. Mark Ellis kind of led Scruggs back to the bag. 2 outs.
Knew that he didn't have a play at second. He went to first and didn't get there.
Manager's Challenge will be brought to you by Subaru's EyeSight Driver Assist technology, a vigilant safety feature that gives peace of mind to every drive. So De La Rosa with 2 outs will step in against Wainwright. Wainwright's a big guy, 6'7".
Well, remember, he burst on the scene as a closer in the World Series. The Cardinals needed somebody to come out of their bullpen and be the stopper, and he was just that guy.
And that's kind of true to form with the Cardinals. If you demonstrate that you're getting guys out, they're going to bring you here, and they're not afraid to put you in a sticky situation if you show them you think that you can handle it. And they did that with Wainwright very early on.
Well, Rosenthal, Seacrest,
Martinez last year.
They're going to bring you quickly, but they're also going to define the role you're going to have. And I think Derek Littlequist, other guys have done that. You know, we're going to, you know, if you look at Manus, what's he do? He comes in, gets you out of an inning, gets you 1 more inning, he's done. If somebody gets on, he's out of the game. Then you have Seacrest, other guys in their bullpen, you know, now Freeman, Greenwood, that come in and do their jobs. The strikeout of De La Rosa, the Rockies, a miniature threat there. We had a couple of guys on.
3-0 St. Louis on the Holiday home run. Drew Goodman, George Frazier, Mark Stout on a Friday in St. Louis. As we go to the bottom of the second inning, Peter Borges, Mark Ellis, and Adam Wainwright against Jorge De La Rosa. Oh my goodness, I just looked at our graphics monitor and I
jump back a little bit.
I had to jump back a little bit. Let's go to Mark Stout. Mark?
Guys, I'm going to start off Fan Friday here. The question is for George. This is my question to you, George. What numbers did you wear when you played for the Cardinals, and why?
Well, wait a minute. You're asking me this question? Is that what that is?
Yeah,
that's
kicking off
a very young, dark-headed guy. Doesn't have any gray hair. I actually started out, Mark, wearing number 59 in spring training.
Okay.
49, 43, and 39.
3 numbers in like 3 years.
Well, yeah, I kept getting sent up and sent back, and people go, how was your time with the Cardinals? I said, pitching in my home state was wonderful. I wish I'd have got more people out so I could have stayed here.
Peter Borges leading things off. And if you add up all the numbers George wore in his Cardinals career, it adds up to 1,511.
There you go. Perfect. That's right.
We're somewhere.
But I do know this, that when I did come up, I had a wool warm-up jacket. Everybody else had silk. And Butch Yachman said, you're going to have to learn. I wore socks just like that because he wouldn't give me pants long enough, and they wanted the stripes to show.
That was a rule, wasn't it?
Yeah, until George Hendricks started paying $100 a day, and then they let the long pants come in.
Good looking pitch at the knees, a strike from De La Rosa. It's 1-2.
Those socks, it was mandatory. Those stripes all showed.
Borges hit just .220 in the first half, adjusting to the National League, but he's come on in the second half with a .313 average, and he just watched that one. Strike 3. 3 straight strikeouts for De La Rosa, and that'll bring up the erstwhile Rocky Mark Ellis. Boy, Mark's carved out one heck of a career for himself.
Great career, there's no question, and teams still get him because he solidifies not only the field but your locker room. And last year, what happened when Pete Kozma didn't hit what they thought he would hit, and they gave him 500 at-bats, they signed Peralta, but they also signed Ellis. They wanted Ellis as a backup for Colton Wong, who at one point this year, now he's really hit well now, but at one point Colton Wong was sent to the minor leagues to get his swing back, just like Tavares was. But at 33 career ball games against Colorado, and all those with Oakland and some with obviously the St. Louis Cardinals, Ellis has hit .307.
The 1-0 on Mark, and it's fouled off. 1-1.
You get your tickets now for the Fan Appreciation Fireworks, courtesy of Great Clips, on Friday, September the 19th, after the Rockies take on the Diamondbacks.
The Cardinals, again, George, kind of pieced things together. They had high expectations for Colton Wong, and they had high expectations for Oscar Tavares. And those guys are here now. Obviously, Wong's been here the whole year, but you know, Tavares up and down.
Well, Wong's turned it around. Tavares has not yet.
Not yet, but this is one of the top prospects in the game, and yet other guys pick up the slack.
Yeah, Wong's hit .253 now with 11 home runs and 20 stolen bases. He did pick up the slack, but Tavares has not. But other guys, like you said, this is an organization that's not afraid to give scrubs. Grichuk a chance. They're hitting well. They're #1 picks. They've done well. You're going to the big leagues.
Here's the 2-2 on Ellis. He fouls back the 92-mile-an-hour fastball. So in the first inning, the Cardinals get the 3-run home run from Matt Holliday. It snapped a 17-inning drought offensively. They lost 3 straight in Cincinnati. They do it with a home run, which is somewhat odd. They've hit only 96 home runs this year. That's last in the National League. The last time they finished last in the National League in home runs, 1991. This is to deep short. Enoa long throw will get him. Good job by Rafael Enoa. 2 outs. In 1991, when they were last in the National League in home runs, they hit only 68. Do you know who led them that year in home runs? A former Rocky, Todd Zeile.
Wow.
You know how many he hit? 11.
I was going to say 10.
The Cardinals this year average is solid. Home runs not so solid. Runs per game 3.8. Yet here they are at 80 and 67, 2.5 north of the Pirates, 4 games north of Milwaukee in the Central.
Well, you equate a little bit of this to what San Diego has done. If San Diego's offense wasn't 214, it was 255 because of their pitching and their bullpen, they would be in better shape. The Rockies or the Cardinals have starting pitching. They have a bullpen. They catch the ball typically very well.
And they're 4th in the league in defensive metrics. A fly ball by Wainwright, and it's a 1-2-3 second for De La Rosa. Rockies desperately need to get something going offensively. They trail 3-0, 21 shutout innings in a row. Against Everett, Busch Stadium by Matt Holliday in the first. They're up 3-0 for the Rockies. It'll be the top of the order in the third. Hey, it's time for you to tweet us your Rockies fan photos. Use the hashtag COFanPhoto for a chance to have it seen during an upcoming game broadcast. Now, I saw earlier the fan photo brought to you by AT&T that we'll see later on. Really cute, George. Really cute.
I saw it too. I liked it.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. I thought it was really neat.
Adam Wainwright completing his warm-up pitches.
Second time through the lineup now. It's Charlie Blackmon who had a leadoff double to start this ball game. The Rockies couldn't do anything. See if he can get things started again against Adam Wainwright.
Charlie likes hitting against the Cardinals. .462 average in 9 career games against St. Louis. Here's his first at bat.
High fastball out over the plate. Took it right by Scruggs down into the corner. Grinchick had to play it off of the wall. And again, it's all about the angles of these new ballparks. Made the play close at second.
Wainwright touches the outside corner. It's 0-1. Adam last year went 19-9 with a .294 ERA. The 19 wins was tied for the league lead. Second time he's won 19. There's another base hit for Charlie Blackmon. All 3 innings, the Rockies have had the leadoff man on.
And this is where Wainwright has gone to work. Now maybe, and again, you're running a risky business here as far as trying to steal a base.
Well, let's check our big hits presented by Mako, the company that repairs all kinds of hits. There haven't been many big hits lately, but in his first at bat, coming off the DL, Michael Kadire swatted one into the seats in left against the Mets. Check out your local Mako for collision repairs and auto painting for as low as $449. Visit Mako.com today. Kadire caught looking his first time up.
They got into a slider curveball type mode, and he got the fastball away on a strikeout. Kershaw 95 and 49, 66% winning percentage. Wainwright's fourth on the list. He's behind Jared Weaver, Tim Hudson, and then it's Adam Wainwright with 116 wins and 66 losses.
Well, I mentioned, Frazier, that he's won 19 twice, 19 and 8 in 09. He won 20 in 2010, 20 and 11. He's been one of the premier pitchers in the game.
Broad-shouldered guy. I think that's what helps him to throw hard and be able to withstand at 6'7", 220 pounds, the number of innings he's put on his arm.
He had Tommy John surgery a few years ago, missed the whole season.
Well, if he just won his career average per year, he would have the most wins since 2009. Where Verlander 104 and 55 leads that.
Turned 33 a couple of weeks ago.
Oh, he's an old guy.
Well,
he had a very good mentor in Chris Carpenter when he first came to the big leagues. And a lot of that was about mental toughness, preparation for the game. Carpenter now works for the Cardinals as a special advisor to the general manager.
3-2 on the 35-year-old Kadire. Runner goes, and a stolen base for Blackman as Kadire didn't get the sinker.
And a rarity because Molina has thrown out 52% of would-be base stealers this year. Big numbers, 20 of 40 now, so it's dropped to 50.
Send him down.
He's slacking. But good stolen base, number 27, as Drew mentioned, for Charlie Blackman.
You know, the Rockies haven't had a 30 stolen base guy since Willie Tavares stole 68 in 2008. Cargo's come close. Justin Morneau, leading hitter in the National League, a comebacker his first time up. He's hitting 8 of his last 9, 371 average. And he's got a 2-0 count to work with.
The Rockies in this ball game have had chances. They're 0 for 5 with runners in scoring position.
Morneau is 0 for 5 lifetime against Wainwright. 2-0. And he was late on the fastball. Out going for a run this morning, George. There were some folks already lined up waiting to get tickets this morning.
Not unusual for the single game day tickets.
Tell you what's a little unusual for me. Wainwright's repertoire. Sinking fastball, great command, but not sinker slider. It's sinker slider, curveball. He uses both breaking balls and both about the same. About 27% with the slider, about 27% with the curveball.
And very rarely will you see the split finger. He'll dominate you with the 3 pitches. And that's something he has equal trust in, the slider and the curveball.
2-2 on Morneau, and he got him with a curveball. Molina clears himself. It's a throwing lane, and they're 2 outs.
The percentages Drew's talking about, and again, you look at how he attacks hitters and what he does. You see the fastball averaging right at 90 at 42%, but then there's the slider at a very high mid-80s type velocity, and then the curveball at 74 with a bigger 12-6 break. In other words, like a clock, thinks 12 o'clock, 6 o'clock. And then an occasional split finger, but that's mostly the left-handed hitters.
Can you think of another guy that throws their slider as often as they throw their curveball?
No, and it's because of his trust. I mean, he trusts both of those pitches. I mean, Clayton Kershaw, I don't think, you know, a guy that does that.
This ball lined to deep left field. It is fair off the wall. Blackmon will score. Arenado into second with a double. Hallelujah. The Rockies have scored 21 plus innings later. The drought is over.
Remember, Arenado drove a ball to left field that Holiday caught right on the line.
You're right, and Arenado was the last guy to drive in a run when he drove it himself with a solo home run in the 8th inning Monday night in New York.
Yeah, and he got a breaking ball here that backed up to the middle of the field. And this time, this ball was not going to be caught. It was going to play off of the wall, and Holiday did a nice job off the wall and a strong throw to second as Charlie crossed the plate for the Rockies' first run of the game.
61 ribbies for Arenado. And here's Dickerson, who could tie it very easily. 22 home runs for Dickerson. And this is bounced to third. Carpenter, long throw, high throw, safe there. Scruggs went upstairs. That saved a run.
Well, a self-defense swing by Dickerson created his second hit in the game. I mean, that was just like a fight-off to get the ball there, and then Carpenter's playing on the line, but the strong throw all the way over, it gets elevated and sails on him. Scruggs skies to catch the ball defensively. That's the good part, but you got to remember Dickerson's speed to beat this ball out. Yet to have a ruling. I don't know how you could not give it a base hit.
And they do give him a hit. So Corey's 2 for 2, first and third. Willeen Rosario at the plate.
Even when you make good pitches and you give up a run, the opposition scores at this stadium, there's a hush over the crowd. It's not like they just don't expect it to ever happen.
Willeen played on Tuesday against the Mets, 1 for 4, a double, and that was a defensive swing, and he's behind 0-2. Arenado at third, Dickerson at first. Boy, a mist is blowing through the ballpark.
Well, it said no rain tonight, but there is fog, which is creating this mist. They have a lot of rain in Kansas City. There's the big hook.
That's the 5th strikeout. In fact, 3 in this inning for Wainwright. But the Rockies get on the board finally. A single by Blackmon with 2 outs and Arenado double. It's 3-1 Cardinals. Lewis Matt Carpenter is going to lead things off here in the bottom of the third. Here's tonight's Coors Timeless Moment. Well, look who's at first base. Todd Helton last September 19th. And he had one more trick up his sleeve.
I still laugh every time I see this. And he felt so bad, folks. After he did this, he sent an autographed bat over to Carpenter.
That was classic. Our Coors Timeless Moment. You know what? We got to ask. That's something Mark would do. Between Mark and I tomorrow, we'll ask Matt Carpenter where he has that bat.
There you go.
Carpenter, Grichuk, Holiday here in the third inning. 6 in a row retired by De La Rosa since the 3-run home run by Holiday.
And that's been the biggest difference in De La Rosa the last 3 years. He would cave after an inning of 3-0. Now he doesn't do that. And at times, folks, you see the emotions on the mound and his frustration, but it's with himself. It's not with a teammate. It's with himself and a mistake made. So I think that's why sometimes he gets misread on the mound because of his frustrations with himself.
Two balls and a strike. Here's De La Rosa's 2-1.
Same
so the
type
Rockies
of result, falling behind Carpenter in a leadoff walk to start the game.
Well, there's Walt, and I'm sure he was about to get an ulcer if the Rockies didn't score a run at some point here. He'd like to have a whole lot more.
He or Blake Doyle. I don't know which one was going to have it first.
Yeah, maybe both.
Yeah, Blake really cares about his hitters, as most hitting coaches do.
Three and 2 on Carpenter. Got him. Beautiful pitch. His changeup is working really well tonight. That's 7 straight retired. Who wants tacos? Remember, when the Rockies score 7 or more during any game, go to participating Colorado Taco Bell locations the next day between 4 and 6. Get your Rockies taco special with Moss and Taco Bell. That'll bring up Randall Grichuk, who had a sharp single, line shot one hopper that went off Nolan Arenado. 7 for his last 11 at the plate. He's really short to the baseball.
Well, you watch how his hand's set. On the side, he doesn't get real deep. They're not real high. Everything's very short. You see right here about shoulder height. As he comes through, the bat gets very still as the pitch is coming to home plate, so he has a chance to react to that pitch. Defensively, you play him straight up because he's going to hit it all over the ballpark.
Say he does everything pretty well. He runs better than average. Good throwing arm. Good athlete.
Well, if you want my guy, we want your guy. Basically, is what happened in the trade with the Angels.
And he just turned 23 a few weeks ago.
Well, you have Tavares, Wong, and Grichuk now, all very young players.
From Rosenberg, Texas, and he's gone. That's another strikeout on a changeup by De La Rosa. He's got 5 punch-outs, and I think all 5 punch-outs are on that changeup, that split change.
And not afraid to use the change in any situation. And because at home, you might hear me talk about a slider, how it dives to the right. Tonight, this slider has more of a downward move than it's ever had because of that split finger.
Here's the problem in the game. Matt Holliday. He tried to hit the ball to Columbia. And he almost succeeded.
Missouri.
Yeah.
read in the newspaper where Missouri will be on TV tomorrow, and Josh Rutledge's beautiful bride, Laura, will be the sideline reporter on that ball game.
Yeah, she does a great deal of TV work. There's the 1-0 on Matt, and it's bounced toward the middle of the diamond. There is Enoa, and it goes off the glove of Morneau. I don't think we've seen that all year. Ball may have sailed just at the last instant, and Morneau didn't want to leap. He wanted to stay on the bag.
Yeah, I want to watch this one more time. A lot of top spin. Noah gets to it. Off balance throw, tries to air it out a little bit, and as he strided to the baseball, it went right off the top of his glove. You don't see that at all. The ball had late movement.
No ruling yet. Holiday at first, Johnny Peralta at the plate. He hit one to the wall in center field his first time up. They're giving the error on that play to Morneau. On Peralta, that's a strike. And for Justin, that's just his fourth error of the year. He has one of the highest fielding percentages of any first baseman in the game.
Well, just like his hitting, he cares a lot about catching the baseball at first. That's why he doesn't have many errors.
He cares about being a complete player. Here's the 1-1.
Looking back at this, the throw as it got to first, I want to see how far he had to stretch to see how close it got to the glove, but it almost looked like he just whiffed on it because it almost hit the back of the glove, closed early.
Yeah, it's a tough error because the throw was not where it needed to be. Could have gone either way. Good block by Rosario. 2-2.
It was a fastball that Peralta hit to dead center field to the warning track to Charlie Blackmon. I'm sure that has the attention of De La Rosa, particularly here with 2 outs and a runner at first.
With that error, Morneau was leading all major league first basemen in fielding percentage prior to his fourth.
Well, then I think we should go downstairs or upstairs and talk to the official scorer so he can do it.
Oh, hey, hold on, George. This is your favorite promotion. Go ahead.
It is. The final dollar hot dog night is Tuesday, September the 16th. The first 10,000 will receive a packet of mayonnaise and a hot dog coupon. Dollar hot dog coupon. Just kidding about the mayonnaise, folks. You'll receive a coupon for a $1 hot dog. Get those tickets now for that ball game. 303 Rockies, Rockies.com/promotions. Only fitting that is dollar hot dog night on Dodger dog night. Dodgers are coming to town. I like the Rockies hot dog. It's really good.
I know you do.
And I'm not trying to be cruel here to the Dodger fans, but I'm not a big Dodger dog fan as much as I am as the Rockies hot dog.
Well, you've sampled them all. You would know.
I have. He's not unveiling what he's eating.
Two on Peralta. Runner going. Throw to second is not going to get Holiday. A sneaky stolen base by Matt, just his fourth. There was a time where Matt came close to stealing 30 bags in a season.
And if people anticipated, I think Matt would do that. And we went up from 240 to 255 pounds and started hitting a lot of home runs and a lot of balls in the gap. But a lot of times with 2 outs, De La Rosa will have so much focus and concentration on the hitter, and of course Holiday with just 3 steals, you don't think he's going to go.
Matt in 2008 was 28 out of 30. He's kind of like Tulowitzki. Remember, Troy stole almost 30 bases one year. That is just foul again.
Peralta looked back to the dugout at Matheny. Rosario has had 31 stolen bases against, make that 32 now, and has thrown out 7.
See, look, you know, you want to judge a great career. Look how many places a guy's in triple digits home runs, triple digits doubles, triple digits ribbies, triple digits stolen bases. Matt has now stolen 105 bases in his career. Not bad for, as you said, a guy who's about 250 pounds. Base hit the other way. Here comes Kadire up with a baseball throw to get Holiday. Is not going to be there. And now the Rockies have Peralta hung up. They'll get the out. But the ribby for Peralta makes it 4-1 St. Louis.
Now the error in the stolen base results in another run.
Yep.
4-1 St. Louis.
One here at Busch Stadium. It's a Fan Friday. Tweet us at RootSports_RM. Use the hashtag Toyota Talk. Tom hit us up with a couple of tweets. One's about Tulo and his injury. Tom, he is off crutches. Saw him last week when the team was home. He is just continuing to progress. Hopes to be ready, of course, for next year with the hip injury and the hip surgery. And then there's this tweet about Giancarlo Stanton. And if you didn't hear, Giancarlo Stanton was hit by Mike Fiers of the Milwaukee Brewers in the face. He was hit by a pitch last night. He's going to miss the rest of the season, had surgery today. He says he's going to be okay. He's going to see a dentist. And other news, Chris Davis, the slugger for the Orioles, suspended 25 games. That's the final 17 and 8 in the postseason. He tested positive for amphetamines. Guys, he was using Adderall. He had an exemption for that last year, but not this year. So that's some baseball news.
Well, just a little bit more. And first of all, our best wishes to Giancarlo Stanton, who is having
very much so
an unbelievable year. I think it would have come down to, and it still might, obviously, for the MVP between he and Clayton Kershaw. So our best wishes to him. The Chris Davis situation, George, the Baltimore Orioles are clear of everybody else in the AL East by 10 ball games. They're going to play without Chris Davis, who's had a subpar year. He's hit some home runs, 26, but he's hitting $196. Last year he hit 53 home runs, almost 100 points higher. Manny Machado is out for the year with the right knee. Manny played just 82 games. Matt Wieters, one of the better catchers in the game, had Tommy John surgery. He played only 26. Yet the Orioles are leading the East going away.
Yeah, they get the good pitching. They do catch the baseball. Buck, I'll guarantee you, has them prepared to play on a nightly basis. And Toronto looked like the team early on that was going to be difficult to beat. Now the Orioles have just ran with it. Peralta fielded cleanly and throw out at Noah.
Noah hit it hard.
The thing with me on Davis is you don't get a suspension until testing positive first. Well, if you test positive once, they slap you on the wrist, say don't do it again. Well, he did it again, and he's getting 25 games. You're stupid. Why would you do that to your team? Why would you do that to... And that's the thing. I mean, these fans adore you, and he feels horrible about it. Yeah, well, you got caught. You think the guy robbing the bank doesn't feel horrible after he got caught? Sure he does.
That hit hard also. Wainwright, 6'7", stabs the LeMahieu. One hopper, 2 outs. Did you know that money generated from hunting and fishing in our state, pay attention, George, creates jobs and protects wildlife? So when you see a hunter or angler, give them a hug. Learn more at hugahunter.com. Come here, Frazier.
No.
I'll give you a hug.
No, you don't hunt.
Well, you do. It says hug a hunter.
Oh, we didn't hug
Yes,
me.
there you
okay,
go.
I feel better now.
All right.
Is that why you've been following me around and hugging me all the time?
Not exactly.
Oh.
But, did you do any hunting the last 4 days?
No, last week, not this week. Dove season open.
You were doing some fishing last week. Here's
I was
De La
doing
Rosa.
that, yeah.
I wanted to go with you. It's just a little.
Sure.
It's a little busy right now. No, I'd love to. And then De La Rosa strikes out for the second time. 6 strikeouts for Adam Wainwright. A 1-2-3 4th inning. It's 4-1 Cardinals at Busch Stadium. Game recap. Put the 7th inning stretch to good use. Get First Bank's free checking at eFirstBank.com. First inning, Matt Holliday hit a monstrous 3-run home run. How monstrous, you ask? Well, it went over the Big Mac sign. It's the second longest home run in the history of Busch Stadium. Matt owns both of the longest, 469 a few years ago and then 467 tonight. And Johnny Peralta, with a long at bat and a successful one last inning with 2 outs, knocks in Holliday, who had singled and then stolen second. So it's 4-1. Arenado broke the drought for the Rockies in 21 scoreless innings with a 2-out double. We go to the bottom of the 4th inning. Yadier Molina, Xavier Scruggs, Peter Borges to face Jorge De La Rosa. Molina struck out his first time on a changeup. Jorge's got 5 punch-outs. And the curveball's low, ball 1. Ball on the ground is short. 1 out. That'll bring up Xavier Scruggs. Cardinals are good at home, 44-28. And here's this that you can file away. They always know what time it is. Dating the last year, they've won 10 consecutive September or October home baseball games.
That's the St. Louis Cardinals, and that's how they play the game. They know what time of year, as you mentioned.
Well, when September rolls around, since 2011, nobody in the sport has a better winning percentage. You know, the last 5 minutes in hoops in the NBA, we call it winning time, right? Well, September's winning time in baseball, and the Cardinals understand that.
Well, and it was, we showed you the open graphic of how the numbers have improved over the course of month to month. This is what they look for, is September with the chance to take off.
And
very good.
And what all 5 of those teams have in common?
They're all in first place or vying in the playoffs this year. And I think, you know, Detroit's right there again, 1 game back, I believe, now of the Kansas City Royals. So, you know, they're a half game back going into tonight's play. Kansas City's losing 3-2 in the 5th. Detroit's winning 3-1 in the 7th.
And the 3-0 misses. It's a 4-pitch walk to Scruggs, and we visit again with Mark Stout. Mark?
All right, guys, on this Fan Friday, we've got a tweet about stolen bases at 100 in a season. And I looked up some stats. I can show you a stats pass, which is what we use. 20 different seasons, there's been at least 100 stolen bases in a season. It dates way back. Only 12 different players have done it. Now, George, Lou Brock, 4th most ever in a single season with 118, a former teammate of yours and a Cardinal. I don't think 100 steals is going to come in a season again, do you?
Well, if it is, it's going to be Billy Hamilton. But other than that, you know, it's going to be tough for guys to get. Hamilton's got 51. D. Gordon's got 55 right now. But because of the game with so much power, sitting on the bases, not trying to steal as many bases, because of doubles, triples, guys hitting the ball out of the ballpark, it's not a part of the game as it was during the AstroTurf era of baseball.
Mark, it's a great question. I could see it with one of those aforementioned guys if this is pulled foul by Borges. Borges can run, by the way, also. If they end up on a club that really doesn't have any boppers and has to create offense a lot, and you know, they have one of those years where they get on, and you know, listen, Billy Hamilton could do it. Willie Taveras came close to 70 with the Rockies, and they've always had boppers.
See, this doesn't sound right. I was looking at milestones coming up for Peter Borges. It says 1 steal will give him 50 for his career. I thought he had a lot more stolen bases than that because of his speed. This year he's got 8. He's been caught 3 times.
Now, he was that surprises me also. The only thing I would guess is he was always splitting time with Mike Trout when he first came up and never got consistent playing time. His high water mark's 147 games in 2011, and he had 22 stolen bases that year, which is his career high.
And he's one of those guys, as the game progresses, you want him up at the bat in that 3rd and 4th time through. First time he sees a pitcher in a game, just 208, then 273. That 3rd time, 393, nearly 400.
Son of a scout. Fouled off.
People had said when first drafted by the Angels, oh, it's an overdraft. Then all of a sudden he started to play, and people recognized his ability to go get the ball corner to corner, his ability to go gap to gap, I should say, steal bases. The arm was strong enough, but he also started to hit.
Now we see his dad, Chris, periodically during the season, a well-respected scout on the professional side. That got him. That's something that happens to the Cardinals more than any team in baseball. You see that, George? They've been hit more than any team in the game.
Is it because they crowd plates? Is it because they dive? I mean, this happens to be a changeup that caught him right. It looked to appear to catch him on the front foot. The dog started barking about halfway to home plate, and then he yelped all the way to first.
So 2 on for Mark Ellis with 1 out. Mark hitting just 127 at Busch Stadium this year. Mark grew up in South Dakota, went to the University of Florida. That's foul. Auto glass damage, trust Safelite. Online at safelite.com. On the phone, 303-287-5000.
A little bit of a mix-up, but Willeen able to react and catch the ball, making sure if you use touches, in other words, like you may go on your left shoulder first touch is going to be a fastball if it's shoulders. Then as you move around and not knowing what the Rockies use, shin guards left and right, and then you go and give finger signs between the legs and give locations, and sometimes you can get a cross-up. That appeared to be one because Willeen popped out of there in a hurry. So with a runner on second, you don't want to give away signs. You want to make sure you try to disguise them. So Willeen, if he does a touch or probably nothing, only because he went out and talked to Jorge. He said, all right, let's go change up, fastball change up. You may come up with the results you're looking for. That change up missed at 77. There's a lot going on. Okay, he's looking in the dugout right now at Tommy Runnels, figuring out the running game. And Tommy's giving him signs prior to going and making the sign to the pitcher. So he's not only going through the running part of it, he's trying to direct the pitcher through the inning.
He's fouled off. 3 rows deep. 2 balls, 2 strikes on South Dakota native Mark Ellis. There's one guy that's played more games in the big leagues than Mark, who hails from South Dakota, and he has Rockies ties. Davey Collins.
Davey is now still coaching, but it's in the amateur side in Cincinnati.
Long list of players from South Dakota, far longer than I thought. 37 different big leaguers. It's fouled off. Guys like Jason Kubel, Terry Francona. Tito's from South Dakota, I had no idea. Terry Forster, you played against Forster.
Left-hander, threw hard, signed with Gossage.
Floyd Bannister, Kerry Lightberg, remember the former Brave?
Yeah, Floyd Bannister was a great pitcher at Arizona State. First-round draft pick of the White Sox.
The late skipper of the Big Red Machine, Sparky Anderson, also the Detroit Tigers. Sparky Anderson from South Dakota. We didn't even realize it was a baseball hotbed.
There's a Hall of Fame there of guys you're mentioning, a lot of guys that Sparky being one of them.
2-2 on Ellis. Mark's out of Rapid City. And he got him on a curveball. 2 outs, 6 strikeouts for De La Rosa.
Timeline for farmland, what's cooking down on the farm. Farmland, passion for pork since 1959. Well, tonight, the Modesto Nuts announced that they have extended a player development contract with the Colorado Rockies through 2016 season. By the way, the Tulsa Drillers split the two games in Tulsa, one apiece. They are ahead 2-1 in the ball game down in Midland after an 8-hour bus ride yesterday. The Asheville Tourists is leading the series 2-1. They trail 6-3 in that ball game.
Wainwright hits a fly ball to left. Dickerson makes the catch to end the fourth inning. 2 men left on. We'll go to the fifth. It's 4-1 Cardinals. Top of the order for the Rockies when we return. For the Cardinals, a run on 6 hits for the Rockies. The big difference, a 3-run home run from Matt Holliday. Adam Wainwright, originally out of the Braves organization, the veteran out of the bullpen for the Rockies. Matt Belisle, also originally out of the Braves organization, where they overlapped. And here's Matt on his former minor league teammate.
He was always one of the most competitive pitchers I had ever been around, and I always respected that most about him first. He was very, very, very competitive at anything he ever did, and I love that about him. But he has matured even more so than I think anybody ever would have thought. He's been tremendous.
Well, both were high picks. Both were starting pitchers. Matt in '98 was drafted by the Braves, and Adam Wainwright came in 2000. Both have had very good big league careers. Obviously, Adam Wainwright's become one of the superstars on the mound in the game. Brought a record of 116 and 66 into the ballpark tonight. And he's looking for his 18th victory. He's up 4-1 in the 5th inning. Blackman has given him problems, so Charlie will lead it off. Charlie a double in the first and a single in the third. And with 2 outs, he scored on a Nolan Arenado double. It's the Rockies' only run in their last 23 innings.
And what set up the RBI was Charlie's ability to get his 27th stolen base. Now, Wainwright went fastball on the second pitch of the game, and Charlie pulled it for a double. Then he went fastball away, and he sliced it for a single to left field, then stole that base. Wainwright started him off with a slider for strike 1. Curveball, strike 2 in the dirt.
Yeah, you got to have stuff, and you got to have smarts and understand pitch sequencing and sticking to a scouting report to win the way this guy has won. 33-year-old Adam Wainwright, and it's fouled off. The Rockies limited the Mets, as they pitched well in New York also, limited the Mets to just 7 runs, but they got swept. It's by far the fewest runs that they've ever allowed in a series, but got swept.
That is amazing, isn't it? 7 runs allowed.
And this is a bouncing ball to second. Mark Ellis comes and gets it. Charlie's retired for the first time tonight. I'll bring up Michael Kadire. There was 9 total runs in the series, 7 for the Mets, and just 2 obviously for the Rockies. Walt Weiss making a notation on his scorecard. Kadire struck out looking and struck out swinging against Wainwright.
Managers keep their own scorecard and lineup card for one purpose. That helps them when it becomes time to decide for double switches, who I may go to, who made the last out. So they draw dots and do different things. They have their own codes that they use.
0-1 on Kadire. And that's a check swing, soft line drive, 2 outs. Let's check our Steel T Heating and Air Cool Stat. Never a trip charge for a repair. A $69 value. Steel T. The T stands for trust. Go to steelt.com. Well, the Rockies have had 3 different batting champions since 2007. Matt Holliday won it in the Rockies World Series season. Cargo won it in 2010. Of course, Cuddy won it last year. Morneau leads right now. No team in the history of the game has had 4 different batting champs in 8 years. And this one's lined right at Borges. It's a quick 1-2-3 inning. 7 in a row retired by Adam Wainwright. 4-1 Cardinals, middle of 5.
And the Cards have put up 4 on the board. They lead 4-1. That's a shot from the new ballpark Village, which is outside of center field. I'll be there tomorrow, show you a little bit of that on the broadcast. Tonight, of course, Fan Friday at @RootSports_RM. Use the hashtag Toyota Talk. And Eric sent us this one, which is kind of interesting. It's about why does the umpire look at a ball that hits the dirt? Don't they throw them all out? And I'll go back to Drew and George, and you guys can talk about it as it goes on. I saw in that Blackman at-bat in the last inning, his second strike went in the dirt. And, you know, Drew, the ump looks at it, and then they toss it out, inevitably.
Well, it's one of those age-old questions. Their ball goes out just now. Age-old questions in baseball. Why, as soon as the ball gets thrown in the dirt, they throw it out. Yet you can have a ground ball to short that hits the dirt 3 times, and that doesn't get thrown out. I can't answer it. But I can answer this, Mark. We've taken a quick consensus
Okay.
up here on the front row between me and Dougie and Frazier. And we feel like your IQ with the glasses on has increased 8 points.
8 points, huh?
8. I said 10. Frazier said 5. And Dougie said 6. So we rounded to 8.
At least a few games a season. So
yeah,
why I've got the specs on.
I figured out, Mark, who you remind me of. Barry Hinson, that was the head coach at Southwest Missouri State, at Oklahoma State, worked at Oklahoma State, then he went to work at Kansas, now he's at SIU Edwardsville. Look just like him. Stomp your feet and yell, don't. I'm just kidding.
I was going to ask, is that a good thing?
Oh, it's a great thing. Barry's,
okay, all right.
Yeah. No, it's great.
Randall Grichuk at the plate, and he takes a breaking ball for a strike. Grichuk a single and a run scored in the first on the Holiday home run. He struck out swinging in the third.
George was not around for that. Sorry.
One on Grichuk, and another good curveball. We're seeing the curveball, George, out on the road more than perhaps we've seen it all year.
More comfortable throwing it out of altitude as he is with the slider at home. You'll see a lot of cutters from De La Rosa, and then out on the road he gets a little more comfortable with controlling the break and being able to throw it for a strike. He misses with the fastball at 91.
Grichuk signed out of high school. He was a first-round pick. Had he not signed, he was going to go play in Tucson at the U of A. To third, Arenado gets a clean hop. Grichuk does get up the line quickly. 2 gone, and that'll bring up Holiday.
Now, Matt has been a thorn in the side for a long time with the Rockies, and it's been no different tonight. The 3-run home run in the first, the error, then a stolen base, just his 4th of the season. They scored on the base hit by Brault.
Yeah, again, the Cardinals don't score a lot of runs, and the Rockies don't score a lot of runs on the road. That's a big extra run. Matt reached on an error. It could have gone either way. You know, his throw sailed a little bit and went off the very top of Morneau's glove. Morneau got the error. This is going to be a tough chance by Arenado. Not for him, though. And he gets Matt Holliday by a step and a half. 1, 2, 3, 5th inning for Jorge De La Rosa. 4-1 Cardinals. Colorado Rockies baseball on Root Sports is brought to you by the Ford Escape. Smart, safe, and fun to drive. Ford Escape, go further. By Southwest Airlines. Find our fares online only at southwest.com. And by CenturyLink, your link to what's next. Busy across the way at the Ballpark Village. It's busy inside the ballpark, and the fans are content right now because the Cardinals lead 4-1. With George Frazier and Mark Stout, I'm Drew Goodman. Third look at Adam Wainwright for Nolan Arenado. He had an RBI double off the middle of the left field wall back in the third.
That was on a cutter that stayed out over the top of the plate. Nolan just smoked it. The first one he flew out to Holiday with men on. Second one, that one wasn't going to be caught.
1 run in their last 24 innings for the Rockies. 3 runs on the road trip. It's just mind-boggling, George, and I know through their history, the Rockies have been above 500 just one time, 2009, on the road. But the disparity this year is startling. Leading the National League in runs scored at home, not a surprise. Dead last in runs scored in baseball on the road.
I wonder how many times, you look back at it, they've never hit well on the road, but they've hit a lot better than what they've done this year, obviously.
This ball driven again toward left, and Holiday will make the play, 1 out.
And Nolan's hit the ball, couldn't hit it any harder 3 times, and he's got a good result only 1 time. That was in the 3rd inning. Curveball, a very good low ball hitter, and that's exactly what Nolan did. That's hard to do, folks. Trust me, you got to have tremendous hand-eye coordination to be able to go down and get a ball spinning off the top of home plate and hit a line drive like that to Matt Holliday.
That's a lot of tee work there, because I don't know of a guy.
Well, I don't know you can get a tee that goes that low.
Yeah, you're right. But I'm saying that I mentioned it a tee because I don't know of a guy, George, that really keeps his eye down and tries to see it to the barrel in a fashion that Nolan does, AB after AB.
Well, he does a lot of drill work, and one of the drills he does is put a ball on home plate, and then as you soft toss the ball to him or a front toss in the cage, his finish is always with his head looking down at that baseball as it crosses the plate. And again, it's a great drill to do. You see the frustration for Nolan. I mean, he knows he just crushed that hook. It just happened to be right at somebody.
Yeah, that's baseball, though. Once it leaves your bat, you got no control over it. It'd be nice to have a joystick once it left the bat.
Sure it would be.
Corey's 2 for 2.
It's just the trust factor that you realize those line drives are going to start falling for base hits.
Hitters will tell you it doesn't even out. The line drives, the out of balls, and statistically it doesn't necessarily even out within a season, and that's why the BABIP, BABIP, however you want to refer to it, batted balls in play, the batting average and batted balls in play is an interesting one, because you'll see guys one year hit 360, 370 batted balls in play, and the next year it's down at 280. Well, guess what? It's the same guy hitting them, and one year they fell more than the next year. Drew Stubbs is having that kind of year. Last time I checked a few days back, he was hitting right around 400 batted balls in play. Cargo, when he led the league in hitting, hit above 380 batted balls in play. 3-2 on Dickerson.
I want to see if he goes to an off-speed pitch on Dickerson with a 3-run lead, or if he challenges with the fastball. He doesn't. He goes to the curveball.
I think Yadier Molina gets shaken off less than any catcher in the game.
Well, what he does is he gives you confidence in his signal calling, and it's the appearance that he gives to you. As he covers up, you watch, he goes down. There's not you don't see indecision in his call. He's going, hey, you know what? We haven't come in here in a minute. Let's go in here and see if we can handle this. And then the target given to you is outstanding. And that's just luck to be able to catch a foul tip and it hang for his 7 strikeouts now for Wainwright.
Two outs, and Willeen Rosario will come up. The day after every Rockies victory, get 40% off your online order at Papa John's. Enter the promo code ROXWIN at papajohns.com. And a reminder that 10% of net sales will be donated to Children's Hospital Colorado. Willeen, a fly ball to right, a strikeout, and now a ground ball to short.
Boy, really quick innings for Wainwright. The last 9-pitch inning a minute ago, and then this one here, not much more.
10 in a row set down by Wainwright. Middle of 6, 4-1 Cardinals. Cleanup hitter for the Cardinals will be first. Here's our AT&T fan photo of the game. We were telling you earlier, this is adorable. Now, have you ever been in a row where everybody seemed to lack energy? This kid was in such a row. One of his first games, I'm sure. And he's up, standing up, and he's got the fence going, and everybody else is still seated. But he was trying to get the rally going. Beautiful picture. Hey, you can tweet your photo to #COFanPhoto, and you may find it on an upcoming broadcast. It's brought to you by AT&T. Ben Paulson is in at first base. And as soon as we get word as to why, we'll let you know. Justin Morneau has come out of the ball game. Nick Massett is up in the Rockies pen.
Well, that's only to get out of the inning. You have De La Rosa starting. You're going to hit third here in the bottom of the 6th. So if he gets in trouble, and they have as many right-handed bats coming as they do, they also have a bench full of left-handed bats they can switch out to if you bring in the right hand.
Peralta singled in a run to right field his last time up. Also a deep fly ball to center field. Here's Nick. And that's high, 2-0. Now Johnny Peralta was acquired to play shortstop, produce some thump in the middle of the lineup. He's done that with 20 home runs. Ian Desmond had the most of any shortstop with 22. And there's Troy, who hasn't played 6 weeks. He's still second with 21 home runs. That's how good a year Troy was having. He was hitting .340 was Tulowitzki when he had to be shut down.
And the most home runs Peralta's hit at the big league level, 24. The most runs driven in, 89. That was all the way back in 2008. The last 3 years, 86, 63, and then 55, and then this year at 68.
He's not going to win a Gold Glove, but if you hit it at him, you're out. Two-one. Good pitch.
Well, that was part of their concern when they got him. Was, you know, will Carpenter go to short and he go to third? Will he stay at short? Will Cosma make the ball club? Because Pete is known for his glove, not for Pete Cosma, not for so much for the bat.
11 errors for Peralta this year. Peralta has seen De La Rosa quite a bit. He's 3 for 21 against De La Rosa.
Kansas City days, Milwaukee days.
Cardinals trying to hold off the Pirates and the Brewers in the Central. And again, they were 2.5 ahead of the Pirates beginning play tonight. 4 up on Milwaukee. And they have a favorable schedule the rest of the way as Peralta draws a walk. 3rd walk allowed by De La Rosa on his 98th pitch. There's the standings. The Reds were in it for a while, and then they really fell off. They did have the sweep over St. Louis during the weekend. But the schedule is very favorable for the Cardinals. 12 of their final 15 come against teams that are below 500. The only series they have left against a team above 500 is a team that follows the Rockies to town, and that's the Milwaukee Brewers.
Yeah, again, you go to the Cubs, you go to the Arizona Diamondbacks to finish things up.
They're still going to turn it over because Yadier runs only slightly better than his older brother Benji. 6-4-3 turn. Let's check in again with Mark Stout on this Fan Friday. Mark?
All right, guys, we've got a tweet from Diane. I think she means the expansion in September of the roster and some of the guys in the bullpen wanting to know, will we see some of that talent next year? George, I know that Walt Weiss was talking a little bit about Nick Massett, who's warming up, saying that he's going to get another year under his belt here in the majors coming back from injury. Is there anybody that really interests you in that Rockies bullpen?
Well, I think a lot of these guys, I think Rex Brothers, once he gets the delivery squared back to where he once was, I think he's a guy that can come back to prominence. And again, you know, is Matt Belisle worn out? In my opinion, no. Is he not going to be used back into the game? I think the one thing that really jumps at me, Mark, is Adam Ottavino and the job he has been able to do this entire year with, you know, first batter efficiency, being able to control a ball game. He's been very good at all those things, and you know, I think he's made a huge leap forward as far as becoming more prominent in the back end of a bullpen. That, you know, when your closer's tired, you hand it to him.
Well, George, if you put your scout hat on and you just watch him throw 95 to 99, we've seen him this year with
Sure.
with a plus slider. You know, you're scribbling all over your sheet with compliments, right?
Right, and the ability to throw strikes with the fastball down and away after putting the slider down and away. So he's learned a lot more about himself as a person and what he has to do to have that success. Well, De La Rosa now 3-1 with 2 outs.
He walked Scruggs his last time up, yeah. Struck him out in the first, walked him on 4 pitches in the 4th.
You know, another guy I think that kind of jumps out at me, Mark and Drew, is that's going to be a tough play. That ball's hit hard. The second hit for Scruggs since being called up. Is I like Brooks Brown in the role that he's in, and he's done a really good job. First batter efficiency 88%. He's not allowed, I think, only one runner, the inherited runner, to score. He's done a really good job with that, and it's a really neat story at age 28, 29 that, you know, after being a #1 draft pick and can't miss written all over you, that it's taken him a while and being a minor league free agent and then reaching that potential out of the bullpen. It's been an intriguing thing for me to watch with Brooks Brown. Christian Friedrich really looks like he's accepted that bullpen role very well.
Yeah, I'm glad
coming out.
Frazier, I'm glad you mentioned him because he looks like a different guy the last few weeks in that role coming out of the bullpen.
Not trying to guide his way through 7 innings of a game, but yet a third of an inning to an inning. Big difference.
6-4, Borges grounds into a force out to end the inning. So we'll go to the 7th. The Rockies continue to trail 4-1. Here's our Cooney Lexus look back. Well, in the first inning, De La Rosa threw a cutter into Matt Holliday, and he hit it a mile, 467 feet to be exact. Second longest home run ever at Busch Stadium, and it was 3-0. Arenado finally got the Rockies on the board with a line drive double to score Charlie Blackmon, who had a base hit and a stolen base. A run was added later on that base hit by Peralta as Holliday scored. It's 4-1. That look back brought to you by Cooney Lexus, where luxury has a new address. They're open in Greenwood Village and also Colorado Springs. The Rockies have scored 1 run in their last 25 innings. Rafael Inoa 1 for 2, and that's a broken bat soft line drive to Johnny Peralta. And that is now 11 in a row set down by Adam Wainwright. DJ LeMahieu will be next.
Kyle Parker has stepped on to the on-deck circle now. Wainwright with 5 ground ball outs, 6 fly ball, and 7 strikeouts, 18 of 25 first pitch strikes.
DJ takes a strike. A reminder, if your windshield has a crack in it, call SafeLight at 303-287-5000 to make an appointment, or go see them online at safelight.com. They're everywhere. Passed a SafeLight ban earlier today. How about that? Ball and a strike on DJ. To third, Matt Carpenter, high throw on the tag. Scruggs got him. Scruggs saved Carpenter an error.
He couldn't save one earlier, which should have been an error, but given a hit. Scruggs able to get it before the foot got down. Able to tag him on the thigh area.
And it's so important to spin with that, not get your wrist jammed. Kyle Parker.
Well, when you have a first baseman, and people always think of Pujols as nothing more than an offensive guy. He was a very good defensive guy. Another look at this tag by Scruggs. And then he was gone, and then you have Adam, then you've got Adams up, who's a decent first baseman, but he's not Pujols. .105 pitches thrown in the game for De La Rosa. That was the 78th pitch for Wainwright.
Kyle Parker hits it in the air to center. I mean, these are quick innings. I think the last 3 innings, he's been in single digits in number of pitches thrown. In their home at Busch Stadium in downtown St. Louis, Missouri. Mark Ellis to lead it off in the bottom half of the 7th inning. This copyrighted telecast is presented by authority of the Colorado Rockies, may not be reproduced or retransmitted in any form. The accounts and descriptions of this game may not be disseminated without the express written consent of the Colorado Rockies. Boisterous, bundled up crowd on a cool Friday evening in St. Louis. Nick Massett will take over to face Mark Ellis here in the 7th inning. De La Rosa goes 6 innings, 4 runs, 4 hits, 3 walks, 6 strikeouts. He hit a batter.
47th appearance for Nick Massett, and his, and Walt was very upfront and honest. He said, I think it took him some time to get back on his feet again and be able to feel comfortable after missing a couple of years, which was a career-ending injury. And Walt has liked what he has seen from Nick Massett.
Ball and a strike on Ellis. One and two. Ellis a strikeout and a ground ball to short. And the curveball hit to Inoue. Came up nicely for him. And Ben Paulson goes down and makes the catch. 1 out.
Hey, the Dodgers will be in town Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday. That's the 15th through the 17th. Coca-Cola value packs are available for all 3 games. Go to Rockies.com/tickets, and remember the Coca-Cola value packs. They are available all 3 ball games while the Dodgers are in town. Meaningful games as these are this weekend here in St. Louis. The Dodgers going into play tonight had a 2.5 game lead. They're playing San Francisco. It's top of the first right now, 0-0.
Adam Wainwright hearing it from the crowd coming up here in the 7th inning. He's allowed 1 run on 6 hits.
Hearing it from the crowd in a very good way, as they have remembered what he's done here in this ball game. And what was interesting, Drew, was 43 pitches through the first 3 games, and you mentioned these last 4 went quick. Well, only 34 pitches the last 4 innings. And he's been on the mound.
34 pitches in 4 innings.
Yes, sir.
Remarkable, and he has retired 13 in a row. Matt Carpenter taking his time naturally, giving Wainwright a few extra seconds to catch his breath. Carpenter a walk and a run scored in the first, a strikeout and a fly ball to center field. Yeah, one of the neat things about coming to St. Louis, we always tell you what a marvelous baseball town it is, how rabid they are about their Cardinals. Look at all the greats. Red Shanedeans, Jack Buck, the announcer.
By the way, I just saw Red in the hallway a minute ago.
He's here on a regular basis. Your former teammate Lou Brock, there's a comebacker. It is the 123rd season of Cardinal baseball. Think about that. 4-1 Cardinals.
Have a 4-1 lead as we go to the 8th inning. Hey, Rockies Real Time. There's a new episode coming up right after the game tonight and after the post game, and it is all about Drew Stubbs. It's kind of cool. It's called The Journey of Drew Stubbs. He was a high draft pick, of course, of the Reds. Few trades. We'll go back and look at him when he was playing at Texas, and he'll swing the sticks too with Corey Sullivan. That'll be Rockies Real Time coming up after the post game tonight. Now that brings me to a tweet here on Fan Friday. It's in the middle there, and it says, "I've heard that Stubbs is a good golfer. Anybody know what his handicap is?" Well, Corey Sullivan course, the former Rocky and one of the guys who works with us, he told me that Drew said his handicap, guys, is an 8. And I know that he can play well, but you can find out more about that tonight on Rockies Real Time.
You know what he is, Mark? He is a natural athlete. He's one of those guys that ticks you off. No matter what it is, he's really good at it really quickly.
Plays piano. You know, I asked him early in this year, he said he's got to finish some credits and get his master's at Texas. And I said, can you do that online? And he looked at me like, not these classes that I need to take.
He was.
You can't do them online.
Hey, this isn't Ithaca, pal.
Right, George.
Yeah, tell him. He was. I believe. He was valedictorian, I think, of his high school class in Atlanta, Texas. Barnesy, get out of the way. We're talking about Stubbs.
And that's okay, because if Stubbs an 8, that just means that's more shots for everyone else when you walk out there. Well, if this is the inning to do it on Wainwright, it's top of the lineup for the Rockies. Wainwright has 4 complete games. That's tied for second in the league with Bumgarner, Cueto, and Kershaw leads it with 6.
Well, including his last time out when he threw the complete game against Milwaukee. A run on 7 hits. Tonight he's given up a run on 6 hits. Just 71 pitches coming into the inning. George told you about how few he'd thrown the last 4 innings.
This ball club, when they have a lead after 7 innings, remind I said after, 68-4.
Blackman has 2 of the 6 hits. A double leading off the game. He was stranded there. Then a single. He scored the only run. Brought home on a double by Arenado. Last hit for the Rockies was Corey Dickerson's single in the 3rd. Well, check this out. The game after a complete game this year, he's thrown really good baseball games. He has not given up a run. So tonight, somewhat of an aberration. He's given up 1. Guess when he throws a complete game, it means he's about to get on a significant roll. Scruggs feeds Wainwright 1 out, and that's 14 straight set down by Adam Wainwright. Well, who wants tacos? Fans, follow at @rootsports_RM on Twitter to receive alerts for the Rockies taco special when the Rockies do score 7 in a game. Here's Kadire. Talk to visiting players, and they all enjoy immensely the baseball experience that is coming to Busch Stadium. Big crowds, knowledgeable fans, and great competition. I was talking to LaTroy Hawkins about that this afternoon. LaTroy's played everywhere. LaTroy played the Polo Grounds, didn't he?
That's not nice. The thing about it, you really don't understand how good a city it is until you leave it as a home player. But then you envy a lot of times of what they have here. And it's a cold night here in St. Louis, and at the start of the game, there was a pretty good crowd here. Now it's diminished only because of the weather. A lot of people have gone home to watch it. They had that mist throughout the middle of the ball game. But they built a baseball park when they built the new one. They now have the brand new baseball right across the street with restaurants, Cardinal Nation. You see all these different signs around this. It's a big deal. I mean, they now own their AAA team in Memphis, and they also own the AA team in Springfield, Missouri. So you go there, you're going to see a sea of red now even more than ever before.
This ball shot to third. Carpenter. And it's scooped by Scruggs, 2 outs.
Well, if you want to ever dream of becoming a Colorado Rocky, sign up for Fantasy Camp now, taking place Salt River Fields, February the 4th through the 8th. In 2015, visit Rockies.com/fantasy camp for more details. It's a lot of fun. I'm very nice and kind in Kangaroo Court.
No, you're not.
We have a lot of fun down there, folks, and love to have you all come down. And I said this the other day on air. We were just visiting back in Denver. You know, I get a lot of women that ask me, hey, can the women come to the game? Absolutely. You better believe it. You can come participate in camp. We have them every year, ages from mid-20s to the 60s. So we love having you and love having the guys come down. A lot of repeat business, and guys enjoy coming down. And we've had a lot of good players there. Corey Sullivan, and of course, Ryan Spielborgs, Brian Fuentes, Josh Fogg, they all came last year. Larry Walker's been there. Vinny Castilla's typically a regular. He wasn't there last year, but he typically is. Dante Bichette has come 2 or 3 years. It's a lot of fun.
Yeah, Larry Walker's been there.
Yep.
I've never met anybody, and I've been 9 of the last 10 years. I've never met anybody that hasn't had a terrific time. That's fouled off by Ben Paulson, and you may be wondering, well, why is Ben Paulson hitting after Michael Kadire? Ben came into the ball game an inning and a half ago defensively for Justin Morneau. We do not know why Justin was removed from the game. We haven't heard a report yet from the Rockies clubhouse. I don't know if the neck is flared up. And this ball pulled past EY. Saw Kyle Parker hit earlier. Ben Paulson, Kyle Parker, teammates at Clemson. I know it wasn't a big deal. Did you see that block by Molina?
It is a big deal. It's the 8th inning.
Quiet, boom, ball's right there. I mean, pick it up, throw it back. I mean, he deadened it.
Made it look
6
easy,
inches out in front of his body.
Well, it's kind of the thing about it is a lot of guys that can make this look really easy. Now, they obviously, because of his reputation, don't say this about him, but a lot of guys with great hands and confidence behind the plate, they go, well, they're lazy. No, they make it look so easy, it looks lazy.
And a strikeout of Wainwright, by Wainwright of Paulson. And that is his 8th strikeout. Another 1-2-3 inning. 16 in a row retired by Wainwright.
Bottom 8, 44th sellout for St. Louis. 54 degrees and damn, some of the fans have left. I want to thank the fans who have tweeted us on this Fan Friday, and we're going to wrap things up, Drew and George, with Kever, who sends this one in. My daughter loves that play. Todd Helton tagging the runner out at first. Yeah, the hidden ball trick. She likes to tell her softball teammates about it. That's a good way to end Fan Friday, I think. Let's show it again. It's always fun to watch. Todd and Matt Carpenter, last September at Coors Field. Up, gotcha. Yeah,
it still makes me laugh.
Yeah.
Todd's like, oh, dude, feel really bad for you. Sorry.
Chris Maloney's right there. Why didn't he tell him? Trevor Rosenthal is throwing in the Cardinals bullpen. Wainwright's thrown 96 pitches. And at this point in the season, though he very easily, I'm sure, could go the distance, Mike Matheny would prefer to put the stop sign at 96, it looks like. Nick Massett continuing on. Randall Grichuk is at the plate. He's 1 for 3. 4-1 St. Louis. We're in the 8th inning. Here's the 1-1 and a good fastball. Evidently it was inside. 2-1. Grichuk, a rookie, getting an opportunity. The Cardinal rookies have produced 166 hits this year, which is 5th best in the National League. An impressive number for a club that's in first place.
Well, because it's been like Colton Wong's up for a while, back to AAA, back up again. Tavares up, back down again. Grichuk up, back down again. So Matheny's had to shuffle everything with his lineup to utilize a lot of these young players and put them in parts of a lineup to try to be successful.
A leadoff walk to Grichuk.
Follow every Rockies game through the season's end with MLB.com at bat, the #1 app, live baseball on your smartphone or tablet. Get replay reviews, scores, stats, audio, and more. Download At Bat on the App Store or visit Rockies.com/mobile today.
Holiday, a 3-run home run back in the first, reached on an error and stole a base in the third, then would score the 4th run. He's 1 for 3 officially.
And you've got to remember that Massett, who pitched in the Central Division for a long time, these guys with the Cardinals that have been on their club have seen a lot of Nick Massett. Oh boy, that's a pretty good shot to the young catcher, Lane Rosario. think.
1-1, and that's a base hit. So now the first two have reached here against Massett in the 8th, and Johnny Peralta coming up.
It looks like Rob Scahill is throwing down in the Rockies bullpen.
That is the Peoria, Illinois native, Rob Scahill.
Well, Jim Wright's going to have a quick jog out to the mound to have a visit with Nick Massett. A lot of this has to do with whether Scahill can get loose quick enough in the cold weather. You buy a little bit more time here.
Time for the CenturyLink link to what's next while the meeting's taking place. Here's the remaining schedule for the Rockies. After this 3-game set against the Cardinals, they'll face the Dodgers at home Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. No television Wednesday afternoon, and then a 4-game set against Arizona before the final week of the season takes them to San Diego and LA. Last series in LA could be huge. I mean, it's a big series going on tonight in San Francisco. The start of one at AT&T between the Dodgers and the Giants. The last time the Dodgers were there, they swept the Giants. The Giants do lead the series by a game. Just 2.5 separated those two teams to be beginning play tonight.
Well, that's what it is, and it's going to boil down to a lot of that. San Francisco on top 3-0 in the bottom of the first now.
Kershaw and Bumgarner will pitch in that series. Actually, Bumgarner's going tonight, and Kershaw's going on Sunday. Just got word on Morneau. Left side intercostal soreness day to day. That's fancy words for an oblique. And a nice pick by Paulson at first. A 6-4-3 turn started by Enoa.
Yeah, one first baseman exit that has pretty good hands. Another one comes right behind him. Ben Paulson probably saved a run here. Typical with a lot of ballparks, right behind first base in towards the dugout area is the opening that guys go in and out of on the dugouts. And so if that ball gets by him and gets into the dugout, double trouble. Instead, you got a nice double play turned on the pick by Ben Paulson.
Yadier Molina's 0 for 3. He's hitting below 230 since he came off the disabled list. Still trying to get his timing back.
Asheville lost the ball game 6-3. Cincinnati did a nice job, though. He went 5 1/3, just 2 runs. The loss went to Trip Blanks. David Dahl hit a home run. So did Patterson for Asheville. That series now tied at 2 apiece.
It's an interesting pair of numbers, George. The Cardinals have hit 252 with runners in scoring position this year, which is middle of the pack in baseball. They're 15th out of 30 teams. Last year, they hit an incredible 330 on their way to a National League pennant, which was the highest since reliable records began being kept for runners in scoring position back in 1974. There's a lot of other numbers that have been kept, you know, for more than 100 years, but RISP, you go back to 74, 330 for the year. Wow. This year they're finding a different way to win.
Interesting note on Molina, 53-42 when he starts. When he doesn't, just 2 games over 500, 27-25, and since returning for the DL, he's 9-6 as starting catcher for the St. Louis Cardinals, looking for win number 10 here tonight.
1-2, and that is lined to deep right. Kadire can't get there, and it'll score a run. Molina into second with a double. That's his first extra base hit since coming off the disabled list, and it makes it 5-1 Cardinals in the 8th. And the folks inside Ballpark Village enjoying it.
Absolutely, on a line drive to right field, and I'm not sure Kadire saw where the way this ball was hit. He came in and then had to angle back to get to the baseball. Hit harder by Molina than originally thought off the bat. Walt Weiss will go to the bullpen now. Cahill had been throwing, now he's going into the ball game. Watching the number of pitches, 26 for Nick Massett. You know, not that you worry about extending a whole lot, but it's a point where he does not want to get up to the 30-35 pitch count. And you also want to find out things about the young right-hander Rob Scahill. Had a good year at AAA with men in scoring position. He's been doing a pretty good job of that. 5-1 Cardinals.
Rockies, 2 outs in the bottom of the 8th inning. Moments ago, Yadier Molina with 2 outs doubled in. Randall Grichuk to make it 5-1. That was against Nick Massett, so Scahill will come on trying to get the final out of the inning. He'll face Xavier Scruggs.
7th appearance for Rob. He's 1-0 on the year. Picked up that win in Wrigley Field and was shipped right back to AAA. But I like the inherited runners. 4 out of the 7 have not scored, so he's doing a pretty good job with that. Matt Holliday, you know, he got that base hit to drive in the run earlier. And then watch the bat splinter here. So it's just off the end of the bat when he hit this ball. You see him drop that top hand off, and then later back in the dugout having the trainers take a peek at it. You know, and then does this hurt? Does that hurt? You never notice whenever something hurts, they just grab it right on the spot and they start squeezing it really hard. Does that hurt? Squeezing it, and his smile comes on Matt's face. Let's Cahill trying to clean it up here in the bottom of the 8th inning. 1 run in so far. They'll have 2 outs and a pinch hitter in Matt Adams.
Sometimes that finger can go numb. It is Matt Adams pinch hitting for Scruggs.
He'll go in and play first base, a straight swap. Adams, who's missed a lot of time, still 15 home runs, 64 RBIs. He was on the DL for a 15-day stint. Still 480 at bat, 85 at bats. A guy that plays every day, hits against left and right-handers. He was the Texas League Player of the Year a couple of years ago. All-Star in the Arizona League. They're going to go ahead and walk him, put him at first base. Just see if they want to get John Jay's legs loose for Peter Borges.
Yeah, once they fell behind, they went in that direction. A little bit unusual in that if you're going to walk a guy, and Adams is not yet announced, but you'll do it with the pitcher you're going to pull out. But once Scahill fell behind, Rockies elected to walk Adams and go right on right with Borges. Makes sense.
By the way, that Tulsa game's tied 2-2 now. It's in the 8th. The other day, Chris O'Dowd had a heck of a game. He had a couple of hits, drove in 3, stole a base, threw out a base runner. Not surprisingly, it's not a safe situation anymore, up 4. Rosenthal continues to throw. Guess what? We got a 2-game lead. We got a lead in the 9th. You're pitching.
Absolutely.
You know, unless it's 10-1, 9-1, then we'll go some other direction. But we're not doing it at this point. 2-0 on Peter Borges. One of the hard things when you're one of the younger guys like Rob Scahill and you come up, even though you've been up and down in the big leagues, it's the time off in between outings to have the sharpness you normally would have. Yeah, you're still trying to impress at the strike thrower, going right at hitters.
Borges pops up the 2-0 pitch, and Dickerson makes the catch. In the inning, another run for the Cardinals. Yadier Molina doubles in. Grichuk. It's 5-1 going to the 9th. by the Colorado Department of Wildlife. Money generated from hunters and anglers creates jobs and protects wildlife, so give one a hug. Learn more at hugahunter.com. By Bluebell Ice Cream. And by Dodge. Visit Dodge.com or your local Dodge dealer today. Game 1 of a 3-game set in St. Louis. The Cardinals in the 9th inning have a 5-1 lead, despite the fact that the hits are all even. Let's get it to Denver. Jenny Cavnar, Jeff Houston. Jenny? Well, you got to score more than one. The Rockies have 3 more outs to work with, Jenny. They did break the drought of 21 innings when they scored in the 3rd inning. Trevor Rosenthal, the closer for the Cardinals. Not a safe situation for Rosenthal. He throws very hard, which is pretty typical of closers.
An interesting note, when he was started out in the Texas League a couple of years ago, before becoming this really good closer, you see the strikeouts, hits, and innings pitched. First batter efficiency, opponent average. He was a starter, and he was 90, 93, 94. Moved him to the bullpen, and that's when everything jumped. 97 to 100 at times. He'll pitch mostly in that 96 to 97 range. He goes after Arenado. He goes after the first pitch.
Matt Adams on defense, and he makes the catch in foul territory. 1 pitch, 1 away. Corey Dickerson has 2 of the Rockies' 6 hits. The Rockies got 6 hits and a run in the first 3 innings against Adam Wainwright. Then he retired the final 16 batters he faced before now giving way to Trevor Rosenthal. So we're in the 9th with 1 out, and the last base runner the Rockies had was Corey Dickerson when he singled in the 3rd. That was like 2 hours ago.
Just dead red coming right at you. First pitch 95, last 96. Interesting note, the last Rockies pitcher to lose 5 consecutive road starts was Chacin, June 27th to August 11th. De La Rosa entered this, having lost, he was 0-4 with a 5.32 earned run average. The strikeout of Dickerson inches closer to tying that record of 5 straight losses on the road held by Chacin.
2 gone, nobody on in the 9th inning. Willeen Rosario will come up.
Yeah, location, and one thing he can do, he can run the fastball in under the hands of a left-hander with pretty good regularity. A strike thrower on top of that. Fastball to Willeen, 97. He's throwing 5 pitches, 5 strikes.
And this is bounced slowly left side, bare hand play, and safe at first. So Rosario, an infield hit, as Peralta couldn't get it there in time.
I'm not sure why Peralta took that ball and the Carpenter didn't pick it off in front.
I agree with you.
Third baseman, that he could have probably got to that ball, a better athlete than Peralta. And then you catch it with the glove and you have the exchange. Here it is off of the bat. Carpenter pulls up in a hurry and goes ahead and lets Peralta have it. I'm sure he called for it, but even with Willeen running, I'm not sure why he would do that. Pulled him off on the throw. Willeen a base hit.
Rafael Noah 1 for 3. No one interested in holding Rosario, understandably. He takes second base.
Still not a big fan of that indifference thing. And the only reason why, I've seen a lot of 2-out innings turn into big innings when you let them get into scoring position. All of a sudden you have the flare double, then you have another, and then next thing you know, you give up a couple of runs instead of keeping the force in place. Rosenthal's got a lot of pride. He doesn't want to give up an earned run on a flare here. The runner at first, you don't have that happen.
0-2. He's fouled off. 97 miles an hour on that fastball. Rockies entered this road trip on a high. They had won 4 straight ball games, but now they're staring at losing their 4th straight here on this trip. Just 5-31 their last 36 road games, and this is on the ground up the middle. Peralta's not going to have a play, and the Rockies still in business, 1st and 3rd. They didn't think Inoa could get around on the fastball at all, so much so that Peralta, against a left-handed hitter, was playing over in the 5.5 hole.
Well, yeah, playing over, and again, that ball just sliced. And Peralta, a little bit surprised here late in the game with a 4-run lead that they didn't go to Cosmo up the middle for his defense. To give Peralta a half-inning break.
LeMahieu takes a strike.
Michael McHenry in the on-deck circle. Good swing by DJ on a pretty good fastball at 97. It was right on it.
And Rosenthal been pretty much 0-2 on everybody. Got 2 quick outs, then the infield hit by Willeen, and now another one by Inoa. 0-2. And this one is nicked foul.
And the last thing that Mike Matheny wants is for his closer to go out and get stuck with 20-25 pitches when you know there's a chance he could pitch in all 3 games this weekend.
That one was 99 on the radar gun.
Pitch number 15 coming up for Rosenthal.
One and 2 on LeMahieu with 2 on in the 9th and 2 outs. 5-1 Cardinals. And he got it. So the Cardinals win it 5-1. They snapped their mini 3-game slide. They improved to 81-67, leaders in the National League Central. The Rockies have lost 4 straight. They're 59-88. Though they did score tonight, they have only 3 runs on the road trip. It's now 10 consecutive road games of scoring 2 runs or fewer. That has not happened since 1963, the second year the Mets were in existence.